Good morning, students. So today we are going to see about aggregate functions in SQL. So what do you mean by an aggregate function? So aggregate function is SQL is basically it performs some kind of calculation on the different values, on multiple values, and then it returns a single value. Okay, so there are different types of aggregate functions in SQL. So that is count, sum, average, min, and max. So when we use aggregate function, we are basically using the group by and having clauses instead of the where clause. So aggregate function is basically returning one value or returning a single value after calculating multiple values. So we'll see what is count function. So count function is basically returning the number of rows in a database table. So the syntax for count goes like, you can either write count of star or you just write it as count of all distinct expressions. So count of star will give you the total count of all the rows which is there in your database, and count of distinct expression is basically the unique values which is there in your table. That count will be displayed. So you can see an example here of select count of customer ID comma city from customers. So you're basically counting the customer IDs, the number of customer IDs which is there, and you're grouping it by city. So you group it by city, and in that particular city how many customers are there. So that is this particular query doing. Next is sum function. So sum function returns the total sum of the numeric column. So if there are some values in your table, if you want to find the sum of all those particular values, you can use a sum function. The syntax is goes like as shown in the PPT, sum, or you give a sum of all distinct expression, and the example is given here. Next is average function. Average function calculates the average of all the set of values. So the syntax and the example is shown. Min function, min function, or it is also called as a minimum function. So from we know that min function will return the um, minimum value or the lowest value in your set of tables. So the syntax is min, or you give us min of all distinct expressions. Next is max function. So max function will return the maximum or the highest value in the set of all the values which is there. So the syntax and the example is shown in your in the PPT. So what is views in SQL? So views is basically a virtual table that has been created from your SQL, a virtual table that has been created from your SQL statement which is there. So it can contain rows and columns just like a real table, and you can also add some kind of SQL statements and functions to the views. So the syntax, or how do you create a view, is using the create view statement. So this is a syntax: create view, view name as select column 1, column 2 from table name 1, and the condition. So view name is the name for the view, table name is the name of the table from where you want to get the rows and the columns, and the condition to select the rows. Okay, so this is an example which is there, which is creating a view called as a details view from the using the table called as student details. So you write as create view details view as, and then select what and all columns you want from that particular table, and also you're giving a condition like where SID is lesser than 5. So from the students tables, only those ID which is lesser than 5 will be added to this particular view called as a details table, and then you can query this particular view and get the results. So you can also combine multiple tables. You can also, here in the above example, there was only one single table where you were retrieving values, but you can also combine multiple values and then create a view. So this is an example where you create a view called as marks view, and you're selecting the name and address from the student details table and the marks from the student tables. So select student details dot name, student details dot address, and student marks dot marks from the two tables name, that is student details and the student marks. And the condition is where student details dot name is equal to student marks dot name. So from both the tables, you are combining it using the name column. So all the values, that is your name, address, and marks from the two different tables, can be clubbed into a single table called as marks view, and then later on you can only query this particular view in order to get the results. How do you delete a view? Deleting view is done by using the drop view and the view name. So view name is the name of the view which we want to delete, and drop view, so example drop view marks view. So this is the marks view which we created, and we are dropping that particular view. Similarly, updating views. So if you want to update a view, there are certain conditions that you need to satisfy before you need to update a view. So what are the conditions that you need to satisfy are: the select statement which is used to create a view should not include group by clause or order by clause. So the select statement, so this particular statement where we write, that is select student details and all those things, this particular select statement should not have group by clause or order by clause. Then select statement should not have distinct keyword. The view should not have any null values. The view should not be created using nested queries or complex queries. A view should be created from a single table. If the view is created using multiple tables, then updation is not allowed. So only if all these conditions are met, you can update a view. So what is the syntax in order to update a view, or replace, or if you want to add or remove fields from a particular view, is create or replace view, view name as select column 1, column 2 from table name and the condition. So this is an example where create or replace view marks view as you're making some updation to the particular view which you created before. So the same thing, you're trying to select the name, address, marks, but here we are also including an column called as age. So from the two tables, and you are combining using the name. So inserting values into the views is similarly insert into view name. So how do we insert values into a normal table? Is insert into table name and the value. So similarly insert into view name and the values. So that is how you insert values into the view. Thank you.